Honestly, guys, hello. Hello, thanks for joining. I felt wrong even just having the countdown go. This is kind of, no, it's actually a very hard stream for me. And not because I was close to Charlie Kirk. I've never even met him. Obviously, well, he was one of my husband's clients. He's managed his YouTube channel. I've never personally met Charlie Kirk, but for some reason, this assassination is really getting to me. And I think it's getting to a lot of people across America. And the reason why it's hard for me specifically, not that what me matters, I don't matter. Okay. I'm just saying it's hard for me because I don't like to talk about sad things. I run from them, I avoid. So it's really hard for me, but I didn't feel normal. Like, I didn't feel cool, like, posting on my YouTube channel again until I addressed this. And I just want to say, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. This is such a tragedy. I can't even, I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to cry. Like, I'll literally cry. I can't help it. I don't want to be one of these women that go on camera and cry, but at least I'm not asking for um sympathy, pity crying. It's just because I'm genuinely heartbroken for his wife, for his two kids who they were sitting front row. I did not see the video up close. My husband did. He told me I should not watch it, so I obliged and I don't want to watch it. But it honestly doesn't feel real. It really does not feel real that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. From what I've seen everyone say, he is one of the most genuinely kind people that genuinely wanted to help America and to spread God's message. And he was assassinated for that. This is really. How's the quality, guys, by the way? Thanks for watching. I'm seeing in my end, it says my stream status is poor. So let me see if I can fix this a little bit. Doesn't tell me how to fix it. Is it terrible for all of you or what? Because my husband's streaming right now as well. So um, that might make this stream a little harder to be. I don't want to affect his stream either, obviously. By the way, my husband like reached over 2,000, I think like almost 3,000 live viewers on his stream tonight. So amazing. Biggest stream out of both of us ever. So pretty freaking cool there. You guys are saying the volume's low. I know, guys, my mic has so many issues. It's if I put the gain up too much, then it has like weird audio issues. I don't know. I freaking hate tech issues. But oh, you Golden Rule TV, you guys got Josiah on too. That's awesome. Hello, Mojo Matsy. Um, yeah, I'm pretty freaking heartbroken. Not gonna lie, it's really getting to me. Really getting to me. I cannot believe how evil the world is, but I guess I shouldn't think it's that crazy because come on, it's the world, right? To see the people cheering on his murder, to see all the leftists that are so shameless about cheering on seeing a 31-year-old man, a husband, a father, someone's child, someone's son. I think both of his parents are alive. No one's really talking about them, but think about his parents. They lost a son. I mean, it's unimaginable. It is unimaginable to I it's disgusting. And then did you guys see the video of that black guy who was stealing MAGA hats while Charlie Kirk was after he was shot? Could you imagine? Of course it's a black person, let's be real. Of course. Is that shocking? No, it's not. And it's just I'm speechless. I cannot believe this is what's happened. And something my husband and both Nick Fuentes said, and I think it's such a good point to point out, is they want you to get mad, take the bait, and create a new martyr, create a new St. Floyd, and do not take the bait. Do not act violent. We can't let these people continue in normal society. We have to shame people that are okay with people dying for political views and for being a Christian, but we cannot do violence. We cannot hurt them. We cannot stoop down to their demonic level. So I want to put that out there. Please do not stoop. I don't think anyone that watching would do that. However, it's something to keep in mind and something we need to be aware. And we have to pray for our enemies. It's hard, but we have to. And I cannot believe the FBI still hasn't caught this motherfucker. Sorry, excuse my French, but seriously, what a shame. What an embarrassment. And I have zero faith in our government. I haven't for a while, but like, damn. Damn. Thank you, Polska Bob, for the $2 super chats. Usually I do like a super chat goal and I'll say the N word, but tonight I'm probably going to pass on that because of the situation. But I guess the Orthodox or my heart hurts for Kirk and his family. I can't even imagine. I don't want to, I don't want to talk too much about it because I will start crying. I've been literally crying for the past 2 days straight. Like, not straight, but like on and off, tearing up all day, all yesterday. I mean, I've literally never felt physically depressed in my life until this. Like, it's like really affecting me. And I've seen a lot of people post that they never even met him. They didn't even know him, but it's like really getting to them. And I'm feeling the exact same way. And my husband was managing his YouTube, doing his thumbnails. Every day my husband would wake up and be creating Charlie Kirk's thumbnails. I would see him watching the videos, getting the screen clips, like the screen grabs, and making the thumbnails every single day. And we both use the same Photoshop account. So when I make my thumbnails, I go on Photoshop and I see Charlie Kirk's template there. And it's like, wow, I cannot believe that he'll never have to make a new Charlie Kirk thumbnail from new content ever again. It just doesn't seem real. Of course you guys are putting racial slurs in the live chat. I would not expect anything less. By the way, I'm not judging you guys, okay? Because I deal with stuff through dark humor, okay? Through nigga humor, all right? I do. It's okay. But I'm not going to be begging for super chats tonight. It just doesn't seem real. Maz Diggs said, did you know Charlie? I've heard he was such a nice guy. Prayers with his family. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. I never knew Charlie personally, but what I have heard from people close to him is that he's been in group chats and he will send my tweets in, which honestly just shows me that he has a sense of humor, because if you guys follow me on Twitter, since the day I went on, I've been a raging troll bitch on Twitter. That's what I do. I rage bait. I say outrageous things. I don't go on to be a philosopher. I'm not trying to inform people. I'm trying to freaking be very triggering and offensive purposefully. So Charlie Kirk to me has always kind of come across as someone that wasn't super I like to watch people more like Nick Fuentes. They have a lot of humor and comedy and outrageous things, like a way of talking. That's like my type of style of content. So it kind of showed me that, damn, Charlie Kirk probably has a really good sense of humor, and he just maybe doesn't show it as much on camera, or from what I've seen. But what's funny is I watched Candace Owens' tribute to him today, and she was saying that she wants everyone to remember Charlie as being funny, and he didn't take himself too seriously. And she traveled with him for 2 years straight, and she said they spent the entire time laughing. So that I thought was beautiful to hear. And thank you, Marlith, you're extra orange today. Thanks. Thank you. Always have to be orange no matter how tough it is. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to watch Nick Fuentes' reaction to this. He just ended his live stream a little bit ago, but I wanted to watch it with you guys. I saw some clips. I've heard like my husband talking about it. He's been watching it live, and I just really wanted to react to it because, like I said, it's hard for me to talk about it. And yeah, I thought it was great. I wanted to share it. Yeah, Brett Phillips. David said Nick's take on Charlie tonight was great. Yes, I agree. So let me just start that up. And by the way, guys, make sure you like, subscribe. I'm not going to keep saying that a million times, but it'd be cool if you could, I'm trying to go live every night. So join in.
Good evening, everybody. You are watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. I am joining you tonight under some very dark circumstances. Normally, I like to say we got a great show for you tonight, and I think it's going to be an excellent show, but of course, the news is unbelievably tragic. Tonight, as you know, you're all gathered here. We're going to talk tonight about the death of Charlie Kirk. And even saying that out loud, the words are still very surreal.
It is, yeah.
And disturbing. I said this last night, and I meant it. As I watched the chaos and the tragedy unfold yesterday afternoon, and I know everybody else feels exactly the same way, it didn't feel real. That's the characterization I keep seeing from everybody on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. People have been profoundly affected by this, and we're not sure why. And hopefully we can talk a little bit about maybe why that is. But as I said yesterday, like many of you, I got the alert from a friend of mine who I believe was either at the event or had friends at the event at UVU in Utah. A friend of mine texted me and said, Charlie has been shot. I said, Charlie Kirk? They said, yes. And we watched it unfold live. We're still getting updates. We don't know exactly what transpired. And again, we'll get into some of that as well, some of the uncertainties and unanswered questions. But I am devastated and legitimately affected and struck viscerally. Such a sensational video, images, such an unspeakable, horrible tragedy. And I literally had to take a day to collect myself. Normally, this is a current events show. I'm live every night, and I discuss the news of the day, and I've been there through many of the big developments over the years. Same day, January 6th, Trump assassination attempt, the elections, the pandemic. But this one was different, and I think everybody feels that way about it. It felt like a nightmare. That's the only way that I can accurately describe it, actually. Throughout the entire day yesterday, I just could not process it. It did not sink in. It still hasn't fully sunk in. Like I said earlier, you say those words, the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the murder of Charlie Kirk. I watched his Wikipedia page go from Charlie Kirk is to Charlie Kirk was. It doesn't feel real. It feels like a nightmare that we'll never wake up from. And I say that as somebody who was not even a fan, not a friend, and actually an adversary, a foe. I can only imagine what his friends, his colleagues, and especially his wife, his young children, you can only imagine what they're going through. And so what happened yesterday is still...
And something I want to point out that I'm really trying hard not to cry about. Oh, gosh, I don't want to cry. But I said this on a stream the other night, and it's something I've always... It kind of seems a little gay and cringe, but it's so true. And it's whenever... It's a saying that I see a lot online. When one mother cries, we all cry. And usually it's in context of when a mother loses her child. Because whenever I see a mom who loses a child online, I cry. I literally, there was a 3-year-old boy that drowned in my state in Arizona this summer. And it literally affected me for 2 days straight. The first day, I literally could not stop crying, all day. And just looking at my toddler, my little baby girl. So in this instance too, I can't help but cry with Erica. I mean, have 2 young children, a 1-year-old son and a little girl, to have to never be able to see their father again on this earth, and for her to have to grieve this as a wife, and then have to stay strong for her kids as they witness what they witnessed in the front row. It's just horrific. Truly horrific.
Still so raw and so sensitive. The country is profoundly affected, at least some of it is. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
And so tonight I'm going to try to the best of my ability, carry out my responsibility. I believe, and I think you know, that I'm somebody that many of the young people, young conservatives, are looking up to. I have a lot of credibility with the far right, the radical right. And throughout his career, Charlie Kirk always characterized me as a troll. I don't say that with any malice at this point in time, but that's what he said. And many in Turning Point USA said that I and my followers are nihilistic. We only want destruction. And I think that I have an obligation to the country. I think I have an obligation to God. I think I have an obligation to all of you. I think I have responsibility to prove that that is not true. That's not about me, but now that it is the morning after, the day has dawned where Charlie Kirk is now dead at the hands of some unknown attacker. It is our responsibility, mine and all of ours, to step up and to get serious. To the extent that politics was fun or we took it lightly. I think we now realize it just got very real. It's been real. People talk about a civil war. They say a war is coming. Some say we're already in one. We have an obligation now. The leaders, the spokesmen, the men, the young men, the elderly men, we have an obligation to lead. And I want to start, before we get into any of it, by saying this, just as a general note. I've been around now for 7 or 8 years. That's not a very long time, but it's long enough. I've lived through a lot of these events, Charlottesville, January 6th, the Groyper War, many things. And I know that in my career, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done things I regret, said things I regret. I've made a lot of the same mistakes twice. And I've been lucky because I've lived and I have this platform and I'm able to speak to all of you in spite of that. And I think maybe one of the reasons why is because I have been afforded the opportunity to learn a lot. Having been in the center of dissident right-wing politics, far-right politics, in the center of this cultural moment, whatever you want to call that, as an archetypal, disaffected young white man, angry young white man, Trump supporter, however you want to characterize that, I have been in the thick of it for a very long time. And seeing many crises and tragedies and things that we cannot explain, things that are difficult to cope with. I will say first, as I said, as a general note, before we move on, it cannot be overstated how important it is in a time like this to put our intentions in alignment with the will of God. Everybody's very emotional.
Absolutely.
Everybody is whipped up, and rightfully so, justifiably so. People are furious. I don't know that the left fully understands that. I don't know that normies fully understand that. People are absolutely beside themselves. I've never seen the right wing more angry, more furious, and this has been building. Here we are today, the day after Charlie Kirk has been killed, but we're starting here in the middle of the story. It's been going on for over a decade, and these things compound over time, and they accumulate. And I, like everybody else, recognize that this could potentially be a watershed moment. This is a ripple effect. We may look back in time and see a chain reaction, an inexorable chain reaction that leads to nothing other than destruction, devastation, bloodshed, misery. I don't think it's crazy to say millions of dead bodies. And we must have the prudence. We must have the confidence in our convictions, in our faith in God. This is the test. It's easy to believe in prayer when things are easy. It's easy to believe in God, mercy, forgiveness, temperance when things are easy. It's when things are hard, when they're confusing, when we feel justifiably angry, wrathful, prideful. That's the test. That's when it counts. And that is when mature people, and I recognize the folly in me saying that. I don't consider myself an extremely mature person. I think I'm a frivolous person in many ways.
Same here. Same here. That's why it's hard for me to talk about such serious things. So I totally can empathize or sympathize with him on that.
But it's an obligation for all of us to grow up now and recognize the gravity of the situation we're in, the peril that we're all in. And we have to ask ourselves, what are our intentions? We have to set them intentionally. We have to set them in alignment with God, with the gospel. We have to think not just about the present moment and what we're feeling, but about the long term, the good of our country, the good of our fellow countrymen, both the people we agree with and disagree with, our children, our progeny. And we have to think about that moment before God. We have to think about our moment before God in judgment. And we're asked about that golden rule. We don't save ourselves. We approach God with humility. We approach the judgment as weak, as mortal, fallen. Before we take up arms, before we relish in our anger and sit with it, sit with our rage and resentment and fuel it and get into these loops, feedback loops, I think it is so important. And this is why I said last night I wasn't going to do a show, and I really meant it. And I think everybody needed one night at least to sleep on this, to pray, and to pray not just for the repose of Charlie Kirk's soul and for his wife and for his 2 young children and for the people affected in his organization and for the people that were closest to him, but also to pray for the wisdom, the strength, the prudence, the humility, the fortitude to approach this in the right way. Because how we respond to this tragedy, like all of these events, like all of the persecution, all of the suffering, the anguish, it will define us. It will define our country. It is life or death here.
Absolutely. And I was going to stream last night, but I felt so physically ill that I couldn't. I was like, I need to wait a day. So again, in agreement there.
And what I am urging at the very outset of this, at the minimum, is caution. Let us not be hasty. If you're thinking of picking up arms, put them down. And if you can't be convinced altogether, put them down today. Put them down tomorrow. Let us be cautious. Let us be prudent. Let's think. Let's get right. Let's get right with God before we act hastily. And the reason I say that I have come to this reaction over many years, seeing many crises, is because not only is there a spiritual dimension to all of this, and the devil uses our emotions against us, uses our best intentions, our best inclinations against us to doubt our faith in God, that God is both just and merciful, our faith in God, that he will deliver the vengeance that we are told is not in our hands, trust in his plan and not create our own. It's not just for the spiritual reasons, but also for the political reasons. Ask yourself. We all recognize this is a watershed moment. We're never going back from this. This is the shot heard around the world, literally. One shot, one kill, an international incident, and a outpouring of both love and affection in the vigils that you see for Charlie Kirk across the country, but also in anger and resentment, hatred, people ridiculing his death, all of these different things. It's important also to understand that politically, it is in crises like these when we become instrumentalized by forces outside of our control. When we take our eye off the ball, and I don't want to be too explicit at this moment now, but when we take our eye off the ball because of something so sensational, because of something so emotionally charged, that's why they do these things. That's why supernatural as well as societal forces do these things or capitalize them and take advantage of them. And people, guided perhaps by good intentions or righteous indignation, become unwitting instruments of forces beyond their control, beyond their understanding. They become pawns in a larger game. And so, in order for us not to be agents of evil, a supernatural evil, a worldly evil, in order for us not to be instrumentalized by sophisticated and powerful forces that would use this tragedy to manipulate society for its own ends, in order to save our souls from the kind of wrath, anger, vengefulness that will surely land us a seat in hell, I would first say, before I say anything else, especially to the young people, the adolescents, that I understand how you feel, lay down your arms. Those that live by the sword will perish by the sword. Remember what Christ said. This is our cup to drink from, all of us. Death, suffering, martyrdom in some cases. It's all part of it. It's all part of life. And not to be fatalistic and not to minimize it, but as a Christian, we can't always talk about the prosperity gospel. We can't always talk about making money or prosperity and the kumbaya. We also have to talk about the other side of things, which is that we have a Lord and Savior that was crucified on the cross by our sins, by our own iniquities, all of us, and not just the killers and the scoundrels and not just the obviously evil people, but also sometimes ourselves. Assuredly, everybody, you and I, everybody. So we have to take those things into consideration. We have to be humble about these things. And so that's just a word of caution. That's me trying to do my best to be responsible here before we get into the larger subject. So we'll talk about it now. As you know, Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday afternoon doing one of his Change My Mind events, his college tour. It was one of the first stops on his new college tour in Utah. Started out like any other day. And I'm sure for him it was just another day. He's done this hundreds of times. He got dressed, he went to the event, talked it up with politicians and friends of his, said this is going to be a great event, filmed TikToks, and all of a sudden a shot rang out. He died, I assume, instantly, although some of the details are uncertain. People fled. He's now gone. And the first thing I want to say about it after the word of caution is this. Of course, as I said, I was not a friend of Charlie Kirk's at all. I didn't like him. He didn't like me. We had a...
I see you guys are saying, okay, well, he fell asleep, or you guys are falling asleep. Listen, Nick is fiery, but this is not a time to be super entertaining. This is a time to honor Charlie Kirk. I wanted to show you guys this. This is clipped out from Rachel Wilson on Twitter, who I love her very much. I consider her a really good friend and honestly a mentor of mine. My husband and I both have immense respect for her and her husband, Andrew Wilson. Really admire them. Here's this clip. I actually haven't seen this clip, so maybe this will be less boring for you guys. By the way, thank you guys for joining. I really do appreciate it. If you guys could like, subscribe, whatever, but gosh, this is so tough.
And I think everybody needed one night at least to sleep on this.
Oh no, I just played this, so never freaking mind. Let me fast forward a little bit.
Which goes by another name, mutilation of the body, a disordering of the soul. It's the proponents of abortion killed. Here for his values and his beliefs. And as I said, I disagreed with them strongly. I'll make no bones about that, and that hasn't changed. But you have to admire that this was a fighter, this was a worker, this was a champion, and above all else, maybe this is what I respected about him the most. We had our disagreements. Where we did agree is that he would go to these college campuses and proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. And ultimately, that is why he was killed. Everyone will be persecuted for the sake of Jesus Christ. Anyone, everyone, fighting and winning that spiritual battle for Christ and for his kingdom will be persecuted for his sake. And I don't believe Charlie Kirk was any different. We disagreed on much, but we agreed about abortion. We agreed about feminism. We agreed about many of the other moral, social ills of the country. And when you look at his most vicious detractors, the people celebrating his death now, possibly, probably, the gunmen that killed him, they hated him because of his defense of...
By the way, I'm looking at the chat. Thank you guys. Amax said the orange girl is cool. Thank you. Thank you, Mojo Matsi, for reminding people to smash the like button. And thank you, Aunt Mastro, for saying don't listen to the chatters. I want to keep you guys entertained and happy. It's just, I can't be my normal, fiery, hateful bitch self tonight. I'm finding it hard to find joy since hearing about this, honestly. The only person that's really brought me joy is my daughter. And even then, I'm still like, I'm just fucking beaten down over this. It's just heartbreaking.
Christian morality. He wasn't killed necessarily perhaps by a socialist or by someone who disagreed about his position on fiscal policy. And this is something I think we all need to take into account, something we need to be aware of and notice. The most vicious, hateful,
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was just saying that I completely agree with you, Aunt Mastro. He said, Charlie feels bad for us right now, for he is in heaven. Pray for his family. That's exactly how I feel. Charlie is in heaven. He's with Jesus. And he gets to be in heaven. I mean, it's heaven. But I do still feel like he definitely feels bad for his family. I mean, the fact that his kids won't be able to hug their dad until they're in heaven is so sad. So I don't want to cry. I can't talk about this. Gosh, I cannot even talk about this. Ugh.
Opponents of the conservative movement of all stripes, they are the ones championing transgenderism, which goes by another name, mutilation of the body, a disordering of the soul. It's the proponents of abortion, which is some form of child sacrifice, at the minimum, infanticide. These are the most vicious, violent, hateful detractors of even a moderate conservative like Charlie Kirk because he stood up for those biblical values. I'll say it better, Christian values, Christian morality, for Christ himself, for the truth incarnate. And for that, I consider him a true martyr. And I hope his reward is in heaven. I'll also say he was clearly a loving father, a loving husband. He was beloved by millions of people. That is obvious. And although I do not count myself among his fans, it was clear that millions upon millions of decent, earnest, good people, Christians, patriots, they did love him. And he belongs to them. And out of respect for them, I say that Charlie Kirk was a good man. God bless him. And despite our differences, our past debates, I consider that over. And I pray for the repose of his soul, for his family, for him. That's Charlie Kirk. Now, aside from that, it's important to say that it's obviously a horrific thing. And I think that what is so striking about it is because it became so real in that moment. It was such a graphic video. This is somebody that we felt like we all knew. I never met him. I never shook his hand. I never spoke with him. I saw him, and I've been at arm's length with him before, but I never knew him. But to us, he was imminent. He was ubiquitous. He was all over TikTok, making content. He was synonymous with campus conservatism. And like many personalities, politicians, the kind of medium that he used, social media, live streaming, we all developed a parasocial relationship with him. And whether we loved him or we hated him, he was known to us. And other people that we know die, but they die in hospitals or they die when we're not looking. He was publicly executed, suddenly, unexpectedly, in front of millions of people on camera. And we saw in graphic detail his life end that way. I think that's why this is having such a profound effect on people. And the reason that it has shaken everybody to their core, and in some ways, unconscionably has become divisive somehow, is because there are a lot of decent people still left in this country. And maybe they're right wing and maybe they're left wing and maybe they voted for Trump and maybe they didn't. But in that moment, when they saw this young man, this young father, this young husband, a good man, a congenial, by every metric, a positive, cheerful person, a generative person, someone who loved America, fought for what he believed in, a disciplined person, did not indulge in vices, a family man, to see someone like this gunned down in cold blood in such a cowardly act from such a distance like that, In that moment, what was confusing before about our country, what was divisive before, where there was moral confusion or obfuscation, there was clarity. And I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what your politics are. People, white and black, men and women, feminists, conservatives, people that are straight, people that are gay. I saw across Instagram, TikTok, a good deal of people, I hope the majority in this country, were shaken to their core because they saw true evil. When the assassin's bullet cracked and the shot rang out and people saw this young, good man die for no good reason, someone knowable to us, every decent person that still has a conscience, and I choose to use that word, everyone with a conscience was able to say clearly, that is evil, that is wrong. It is wrong to violate the sanctity of life in that way. Our lives are not our own. We belong to each other. We belong to God. We did not create ourselves. We belong to our Creator. To see another human being, I don't care what they've said in the past, I don't care what their opinions are, to see someone summarily executed in such a brutal way like that.
Yeah, and that's really a good point, because I had some disagreements with Charlie. Obviously, he was a Zionist, but he was rumored to, he started to notice things and he started to criticize Israel. And Harrison Smith from InfoWars said that someone close to Charlie Kirk said that Charlie was actually worried that Israel would kill him if he started to criticize them. And there are some conspiracy theories, there are some theories, whatever going around that are saying that Israel did it. So I mean, obviously I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't put it past them.
There was a moment of clarity where people saw, and this is an all too familiar sight, people saw evil, and it shocked them to their core. People saw true evil, weakness, cowardice, violence, hatred, taking away someone who loved and was loved for no reason, unjustly. And people reacted with sorrow, outrage, anger, made people sick. It shook people up because we were born with a moral law written on our hearts. It's not just written in the Gospels. It's not just written in the lives of the saints. It's also written on our hearts. We know right from wrong. We know it when we see it. We feel it. We feel it on a deeper level. It makes us physiologically sick to see it. I think that's why it had such a profound impact. And the reason that it has people so shaken up, another reason, as I said before, is because this is the middle of a very long story. As we all know, this did not come out of nowhere. There were many events that precipitated this. We can talk about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump last year when he was shot in the ear, and his display of strength, of courage, in the face of a cowardly attack, inspired millions of people, billions of people around the world. They saw that little twerp, that coward that climbed up on the roof and took a shot. And they saw Trump in that moment, who had nothing on his mind other than that he needed to reassure his people, show them he was not defeated or deterred. He rose up and raised his fist, rallied the people to the side of strength, of goodness, of righteousness. He survived by the grace of God. We saw it when Luigi Mangione gunned down the healthcare CEO months later. And like the attack on Charlie Kirk yesterday, the attack by Luigi Mangione was another chain reaction. In that moment, we saw a young man kill a father, a husband, another innocent. Once again, people say he worked for some company, he worked for an evil industry. Shot in cold blood, no trial, no charge. His life was not Luigi Mangione's to take. And for some reason, this divided the country. There were millions of people that said he was a hero, treated him like a sex icon, a champion. They made t-shirts. They celebrated. Is anybody surprised now that you have incidents like this? Is anybody the least bit surprised? In a culture where mass murder and murder is celebrated, people cheer it on, they lionize cowardly assassins and killers. Is anybody the least bit surprised that it inspired a copycat? It inspired another? It shouldn't come as a surprise. But there's other echoes of the violence that we saw yesterday. We saw it imminently just the other week when that young girl, the Ukrainian refugee, was stabbed to death on the train. We saw it when Austin Metcalf was stabbed in the throat at a football practice. We see it in Gaza for years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm probably going to end the stream soon, guys, because I literally feel like I could throw up because this entire thing makes me sick to my stomach. But one thing I did want to say is we have to fight harder. If there's one thing Charlie would want us to do it's to grab the mics and to keep fighting and to continue his fight. And just because they silenced a man by killing his physical body, his message still lives on, and it will inspire so many more people to grab the mic and spread his ideas and spread the message and fight for truth and fight for God and fight for spreading Christianity. And that's what I intend to do, while still, roasting dumb horrors and, being a hateful bitch online, of course. But let me just make something clear. I'm not walking around in my real life being hateful. I'm actually very nice and too much of a people pleaser. When I go online, I see a ridiculous video, I like to bully. Okay, that's what I like to do. Cyberbullying is fine. That's so different than pulling the trigger and killing someone. I mean, these people are sick, they're deranged, they need help. And that's all I can really say. I just want to say again, shout out to Charlie Kirk for being one of the most influential political figures of our time. He did amazing work. He will never be forgotten. He's touched so many people. He's created so many friendships through his organization of Turning Point. And he died a martyr. He died a hero for Jesus Christ. And he will always be remembered for that. And I'm happy to see Nick honor him in this way, even despite their years-long feud. Now is not the time to be criticizing Charlie for your little specific differences. Now is the time to fight the demonic left and spread the word of God. And tomorrow, guys, I will be back to my regularly scheduled, reaction content. I'll be going live tomorrow night. We'll be doing a normal live stream where we can have some fun. I just needed to address this before I could go back to, calling bitches fat whores, obviously. But again, my deepest condolences go out to his wife, Erica, and their 2 kids. Keep them in your prayers, guys, every single night. Every single night. I really hope you guys have a great night. Thank you guys for joining me. Really sad day, sad 2 days for America. And right now, I know time will heal, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to feel better. I know it will, but it really just right now, it just seems so gut-wrenching. But thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you guys have a great night. Bye. I may have ended it a few seconds early. Maybe not. Okay, I guess it just